Side hustler. Is that really all you see? Those words still ring in my ears as I sit in the corner office of the building that now bears my name. I can still picture my old boss, Mr. Duncan, leaning back in his ergonomic chair during one of our routine meetings at Denton Technologies. With a condescending smirk, he had dismissed my dreams by saying, "You're just a side hustler, Ethan. Keep your day job and your little projects on the side." At the time, his words cut deeper than I ever expected. They almost became the fuel for a fire I never knew I had. I'm Ethan Rivera. Back then, I was a mid-level manager at Denton Technologies, a large, well-established tech company with a legacy of innovation. I was content, perhaps even comfortable, with my secure routine. But deep in my heart, I nurtured a secret passion, a side business that I had been diligently building out of my spare time. It started as a modest project selling eco-friendly smart home devices online, a hobby, I told myself, to supplement my income and maybe, one day, to have something to call my own. Mr. Duncan's laugh when he heard about it seemed to echo off the sterile walls of our office cubicles. Side hustler. Hey? Don't overreach, kid. I remember those words with bitter clarity. Over lunch breaks and late evenings, I pored over spreadsheets and conducted market research. While my colleagues chatted idly about weekend plans, I was typically at home perfecting prototypes and drafting business proposals. The journey wasn't glamorous. My apartment was filled with wires, circuit boards, and half-finished prototypes, and my social life took a backseat to the relentless pursuit of turning a hobby into something real. I was determined to prove Mr. Duncan wrong. I was tired of being boxed in by someone else's narrow view of what I was capable of. In those days, every rejection from investors and every dismissive comment from company execs stung, but I learned to channel that sting into unwavering focus. I started going to networking events, quietly, almost in the shadows of my 9-to-5 job, meeting entrepreneurs and innovators who saw potential where others saw just a side hustle. I slowly built a small but dedicated team. On weekends, we huddled in a cramped co-working space in a less-than-glamorous part of town, brainstorming ideas, coding late into the night, and refining our product until it was as close to perfect as humanly possible. There was no room for distraction because every moment was spent proving that dreams are meant to be chased, not mocked. As the months turned into a year, our fledgling company, called Ecoluminate Innovations, began to turn heads. Our flagship product, an energy-efficient smart thermostat designed to learn from a household's behavior and automatically adjust settings, was small in scale but groundbreaking in design. When it finally hit the market, it attracted attention from local media and even some industry influencers. Sales slowly started climbing, and what was once just a side project began generating revenue that exceeded my modest salary. Every time I logged into our sales dashboard and saw the numbers climbing, I'd remember Mr. Duncan's dismissive laugh and feel a surge of pride. I was onto something big, something that was more than just a side hustle. But the journey wasn't purely about personal vindication. I had dreams, real, transformative dreams that went beyond proving someone wrong. I wanted to build something that mattered, that made a positive impact on people's lives, and eventually, to secure financial freedom for myself and my team. As Ecoluminate grew, so did our reputation as innovators in sustainable tech. We received invitations to speak at local business conferences, and I started giving interviews in smaller tech podcasts. Every appearance was like a step further away from my old life, a life where I was simply a cog in the corporate machine, and towards a future I was crafting for myself. Then came the opportunity that would change everything. One crisp fall day, while I was attending a startup summit, I overheard a conversation about commercial real estate, a niche market that was booming in our area. One of the panelists mentioned the increasing demand for tech spaces in renovated commercial buildings. In that moment, an idea sparked. I remembered the building in which Denton Technologies rented office space, the very building where Mr. Duncan had made his dismissive remarks. It was an aging structure, full of potential, in a prime location downtown. I wondered, what if I could invest the profits from my side business and eventually buy that very building? The thought grew like a wildfire in my mind. I began crunching numbers late into the night, researching property values and market trends. I consulted with financial advisors, real estate experts, and even reached out to a mentor from the Startup Accelerator who had helped me secure my initial funding. Slowly, a daring plan emerged. I decided that over the next year, I would reinvest every penny from Ecoluminate's profits and secure external funding to buy the building from which my old company rented its office space. That building, once a symbol of corporate monopoly and dismissal, would become the foundation of my empire, a tangible monument to the power of hard work and persistence. Over the next several months, I put my plan into action. I negotiated contracts, sought investment rounds, and scaled up our operations. Every accomplishment, each new client, every successful product launch, was a silent reminder that I was not the same person Mr. Duncan had mocked. I was a visionary, an entrepreneur with an unyielding drive to build something from nothing. My team and I worked tirelessly, often burning the midnight oil in the same cramped co-working space where our journey had begun. We faced setbacks, a few product recalls, a bitter negotiation with a large retailer, but each obstacle made us stronger. I maintained a laser focus on my goal, to buy that building. The day finally arrived when I was ready to make my move. I secured a partnership with a venture capital firm that shared my vision for sustainable technology. With their backing and the steadily growing revenue of Ecoluminate, I had enough capital to place a bid on the building. I remember the moment vividly: the courthouse, the seal of the property being transferred, the final signatures on a mountain of paperwork. It felt surreal. I, the man who was once labeled a side hustler, was now the proud owner of a prime commercial property in downtown. And the irony was not lost on me. My old boss, Mr. Duncan, whose very company had rented space in that building for years, was now essentially paying rent in a building that I controlled. A few weeks after the acquisition, I invited Mr. Duncan to a celebratory dinner at the building's newly renovated penthouse, a space I had transformed into a modern meeting room and lounge. His eyes widened as he looked around, taking in the sleek design, the artful blend of modern technology with timeless architectural charm. "Ethan," he began cautiously, I never thought you'd be here." There was a pause before he added, "You've really done well." I offered him a measured smile. "Thank you, Mr. Duncan. It's not about proving anyone wrong. I did it for myself, for my vision. I wanted to create something that mattered, that could stand the test of time." His gaze shifted, and I could sense a complex mix of regret and admiration. "Perhaps I underestimated you," he admitted in a low tone, and for a moment, the air was thick with unspoken apologies and reflections on lost opportunities. In the months that followed, the building became a hub for innovation. I rented out space to several promising tech startups and creative agencies, companies that shared my belief in disruptive, sustainable ideas. It wasn't just about making money. It was about fostering a community of visionaries who refused to be constrained by traditional corporate norms. The building soon earned a reputation as a beacon of creativity in the heart of the city, a physical embodiment of the power of perseverance. I often look back at that fateful day in the conference room, when Mr. Duncan had laughed at me. I recall the way his mocking tone had bruised my pride, how every derisive word propelled me to work harder in secret on my own dreams. I would often tell my team, sometimes, the very people who doubt you inadvertently set you on the path to greatness. Let their mockery fuel your ambition. And indeed, their doubts became the stepping stones of my success. Throughout that transformative year, I maintained a close dialogue with my closest friends and mentors. One evening, over dinner at a quiet rooftop restaurant, my friend Martina leaned in and said, "Ethan, you've turned mockery into a masterpiece. What's the secret?" I laughed, a genuine, hearty laugh, and said, "I guess it's about never letting someone else define your limits." Every insult, every taunt was just noise until I decided to listen only to my own voice. Martina nodded knowingly, and as I looked out over the sparkling city skyline, I realized that every moment, every setback, and every small victory had led me to this point. My story quickly became something of a legend among entrepreneurial circles in the city. I was invited to speak at local business conferences, where I shared the tale of how I grew from the side hustler, who was mocked by his own boss, to the CEO who owned the building his company once rented from. I'd recount the ups and downs, the long nights spent poring over spreadsheets and real estate listings, and the overwhelming satisfaction of knowing that my vision had triumphed over narrow-minded expectations. One particularly memorable talk was at an annual startup expo, where I took the stage before an audience of budding entrepreneurs. "I was once told I'd never amount to anything," I said, my voice echoing with both humility and defiance. "But today, not only do I own my own company, I own the very building that my former employer's company rented from. Let that be a lesson. Never let someone else's vision confine you. Dream big, work relentlessly, and let every doubt be the fuel that propels you forward." The audience erupted in applause, and as I looked up, I saw faces full of hope and determination, a reflection of my own journey. Later that year, I received an invitation from a major business magazine to feature my success story. The article, titled From Side Hustler to CEO, The Rise of an Unstoppable Visionary, chronicled my transformation from the days of hustling on the side to the triumphant acquisition of that property. It wasn't just a story of financial success. It was a story of personal redemption, innovation, and the power of resilience. My old boss's laughter, once a source of humiliation, had become the catalyst for my greatest achievement. In quiet moments in my new office, an expansive, sunlit space with glass walls overlooking the city, I would sometimes find myself reflecting on my journey. I'd remember the early warnings, the dismissive glances, and the laughter that had once threatened to break me. But now, as I reviewed our quarterly projections and planned for the future, those memories were merely milestones on a road paved with triumphs. I had turned every "you're just a side hustler" remark into a stepping stone that eventually carried me to heights my doubters had never imagined. So if you're ever in a place where someone tells you that your dreams are nothing more than a side hustle, if you're ever laughed at for daring to believe in your own potential, take heart. Every discouraging word, every mocking laugh is not a measure of your worth but merely a challenge, an invitation to prove that what you create can change the world. My journey, rising from the dismissal of a boss who didn't believe in me to owning the very building his company rented from, is a testament to the power of perseverance, innovation, and the unyielding belief that your dreams are worth fighting for. As I close this chapter of my story, I want to share this with everyone. When you feel small, when others try to keep you down with a laugh and a sneer, remember that your vision is yours to cultivate. Let their doubts be the fuel that ignites your determination. Stay true to your mission, keep your records, invest in your future, and never lose sight of who you are. Because one day, you might just find yourself standing in your own corner office, looking out at the city, with the very people who once laughed at you now wondering how you did it. That's my story, one of persistence, heartbreak, triumphant innovation, and the relentless pursuit of one's true potential. And every time I pass by that building, every glance at our thriving enterprise, I remember that it all started with someone laughing and me deciding, enough is enough. I'm going to build my own future. And build it, I did, step by step, dream by dream, until I proved that no one's mockery can keep a true visionary down for long.